Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me in the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department Taxpayers Access Point, or TAP, video series. In this video, we'll guide you step by step on how to file your personal income tax return. First, you'll navigate to the landing page of the Taxpayers Access Point website. There is a login on the right-hand side of the page. After logging in, TAP will bring you to the summary page. In this demonstration, we're logged into a taxpayer's account who has multiple tax program accounts, which is common if you have various filings. Let's file a 2023 personal income tax return. You can start by selecting the link, File Now, or File, View, or Amend All Returns. If you need to amend a return for the current year or previous years, you'll use the same link. On the next page, we'll select the File Now button to begin our 2023 return. TAP will bring you to the 2023 PIT return page, where there's important information about the purpose, eligibility, and information needed to continue. After you review this information, select Next. TAP will then bring you to the Client Information page, displaying personal information on the screen. If you want to update your name, you can click Yes to the question, do you want to update your name? Then enter the correct name in the boxes below. Your Social Security number or individual taxpayer identification number will appear in the next box, which you provided when initially registering for TAP. Next, TAP will ask if you are blind. Select Yes or No. Then, you will choose your residency status from a drop-down menu displaying the options First-Year Resident, Non-Resident, Part-Year Resident, or Resident. We will select Resident for this demonstration. In the next box, enter your date of birth. Then, if you're filing a return on behalf of a deceased taxpayer, you will enter the date of death. Please note, if you are filing a return on behalf of a deceased taxpayer, you will receive a prompt to attach a copy of the death certificate, and at the bottom of the page, you'll need to enter a claim information of the deceased taxpayers receiving a refund. You'll also need to attach a copy of the affidavit to obtain a refund. Since our taxpayer is not deceased, we'll leave this blank. The next options are to fill out or update your phone number and email address. Next, select your filing status from a drop-down menu with the options Single, Married filing jointly, Married filing separate, Head of household, or Qualifying widower. Use the same filing status you used on your federal return, or, if you do not file federally, the status you would have used. For this demonstration, we'll select Head of household. If you do not have dependents claimed on your return, you would indicate the person qualifying you for head of household by entering their first and last name. If you do have dependents, select Yes to the question, do you have dependents? A new menu will appear. After clicking the hyperlink Add a Dependent, you will enter their name, date of birth, and social security number. In this example, we're adding Jane Smith, her birth date, her social, as well as John Smith, his birth date, and his social. Next, verify your mailing address information. If you want to update your address, select Yes to the question, do you want to update your address, and fill out the boxes below. We do not need to do this in this example. On the bottom of the page, TAP will ask if you want to share your information with the New Mexico Healthcare Authority, which helps determine if you or your household members qualify for medical coverage. You can select Yes or No. In this example, we'll select No. Select Next to continue. TAP will bring you to the first page of your personal income tax return. Some information on this page will automatically populate. For example, line 5, Exemptions, shows the number 3 for our number of exemptions. Next, line 6A asks if you have an extension to file. If you select Yes, additional options will appear to choose either a 60-day New Mexico extension or a 6-month federal extension. The next line, 6B, will auto-populate the extended due date. In this demonstration, we do not have an extension to file, so we will select No. Line 8 auto-populates based on the number of dependents you may have entered earlier. For example, we see the number 2. Line 9, federal adjusted gross income, Enter your federal adjusted gross income from Federal Form 1040, line 11. In this example, we will enter $40,000. Continuing, some options have additional hyperlinks to enter information. On box 11, you can click the hyperlink add/edit PIT ADJ 1 through 6 if you need to add more additions to the claim, like interest, net operating loss, or other options. We do not have any additions to our claim in this example, so we will not fill this out. Your federal deduction amount will appear on line 12. Ours is $22,650 in this example. Line 12A will ask if you have itemized your deductions, to which you can select yes or no. We will select no in this example. The next few lines auto-populate. Line 13 will show the deduction for certain dependents, which is $4,000 in this example. You can view the calculation details for the deduction by clicking the hyperlink View Worksheet to the right of the line. Line 14 will show the low and middle income tax exemption, which is calculated based on your filing status, adjusted gross income, and the number of exemptions you claimed. It is $4,500 in this example. On line 15, total deductions and exemptions from federal income, the PIT ADJ auto-populates deductions, such as for age or visual impairment. If you have additional deductions, select the hyperlink add/edit PIT ADJ 7 through 26 to the right of the line. We will not fill this out for this demonstration. On line 16, medical care expense deduction, add any unreimbursed medical expenses you had for the year. For example, if you entered $350 multiplied by the medical care expense rate of 15%, you will get a medical deduction of $53. This specific deduction expired January 1st, 2025, and will no longer be on the PIT return line, but can still be claimed on the PIT RC schedule. On line 17, you'll see the taxable income. This amount is calculated by adding lines 9 through 11 and subtracting lines 12 through 16. For this example, the taxable income is $4,797. Line 18, tax on amount for line 17 or from PIT B, line 14, is automatically filled in using the tax rate table. On line 18A, select the method used to calculate your tax from the drop-down menu. If you select the rate option, your tax is calculated directly from the tax rate table based on your New Mexico taxable income. Alternatively, you can use Schedule B to calculate your tax by selecting the Add Edit PIT B button. Schedule B, the New Mexico Allocation and Apportionment of Income, is typically used by first-year and part-year residents to allocate income earned in New Mexico during their period of residency. Other taxpayers may also use the Schedule B if needed. For this demonstration, we will select the rate method to calculate the tax. On line 19, TAP will ask if you have an additional amount for tax on lump sum distributions. We will skip this section because we do not have any lump sum distributions. Next, consider if you filed and paid taxes in another state. If so, you may be eligible for credit for taxes paid. Select the Yes option, if applicable, and complete the worksheet that appears. For more details, please see our YouTube video on credits for taxes paid using the PIT-B allocation and apportionment schedule. Line 21 is for non-refundable business credits. If you are claiming a business credit, select Yes on this line and then select the hyperlink Add a Credit in the section that appears. Then, select the business credit type from the drop-down menu and fill in the credit approval number, then click Add. In this example, we do not have business credits, so we will select No on line 21. Finally, at the bottom of the page, line 22 auto-populates your net New Mexico income tax, which is $81 in this example. Any credits claimed on lines 20 or 21 may reduce this amount. Click Next, and TAP will take you to the PIT second page with lines 23 to 32. On line 23, the tax due from line 22 is carried over. On line 24, you can claim rebates and credits. To do this, select the Add/Edit PIT RC hyperlink to the right of the line. A page will appear showing qualifications for credits and rebates in sections 2 through 5. Select the options that apply to you and then the options that apply to your spouse. The options are being a resident of New Mexico during any part of the year, being physically present in New Mexico for at least 6 months, not claimed as a dependent of another taxpayer, and not an inmate of a public institution for more than 6 months. The next section of the PIT RC is modified gross income. On line 13, you will select the Add/Edit Income button to the right of the line to calculate modified gross income. Section 3 of the PIT RC is the property tax rebate, found on line 17C. The property tax rebate is available for individuals who are 65 years or older and have a modified gross income of $16,000 or less. You can click the Add/Edit Rebate button to the right of the line if this is applicable and fill out the panel that appears. For our example, this taxpayer's modified gross income is too high to qualify for the rebate even though they are 65 or older. Section 4 of the PIT RC is the additional low-income property rebate. This rebate is available to taxpayers paying property tax in Los Alamos, Santa Fe, or Doña Ana counties with the modified income of $24,000 or less. If your mailing address is outside these counties, attach a copy of your property tax statement to verify. There is no age limit. If this applies to you, you will select the Add/Edit Rebate button on line 18C and fill out the panel that appears. This does not apply in our example. Section 5 of the PIT RC is the New Mexico Child Daycare Credit. To qualify, modified gross income must be $30,160 or less. If you apply, select Yes to the prompt, Do you have a New Mexico Child Daycare Credit? Another section will appear where you must enter required information like the name of the child and days in care. You must also add the child daycare worksheet and PIT CG caregiver statement. Our taxpayer in this example does not qualify. Section 6 of the PIT RC is the refundable tax credits, line 23. The refundable medical care credit is available for individuals who are 65 years of age or older. The credit of $2,800 may be claimed if the taxpayer had uncompensated or unreimbursed medical expenses exceeding $28,000. This taxpayer did not have any, so we'll leave this box blank. Line 24 is the special needs adopted child tax credit. A credit of $1,000 is available if the taxpayer meets the eligibility requirements. You can fill out this box if eligible, but our taxpayer is not, so we'll leave it blank. Line 25 is the child income tax credit. From January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2031, a taxpayer who is a New Mexico resident and not claimed as a dependent on another taxpayer's return may claim a credit for each qualifying child. To claim this credit, click the Edit Worksheet button to the right of the line. A panel will appear including information such as the adjusted gross income reported on PIT 1, line 9, and the amount shown in the child income tax credit table. Then, on the third line, you will enter the total number of qualifying children. That is then multiplied by the amount of credit per qualifying child. That total will appear on line 26 of the PIT RC and line 24 of the PIT 1 return. In this example, the taxpayer qualified for 2 credits, resulting in a total of $800. We'll click OK to exit out of this panel, and then the Next button on the lower right to continue to the next page. This page displays lines 23 through 25. On line 25A, you will enter the amount of your Federal Earned Income Credit, or EIC, which can be found on line 27 of our Federal Form 1040. Then, the Working Families Tax Credit on line 25 will automatically calculate at 25% of the amount entered into line 25A. For example, if your federal EIC is $1,000, enter that amount on line 25A. The form will then automatically calculate 25% of $1,000 and populate $250 on line 25 for the Working Families Tax Credit. The next section relates to refundable business-related credits. To add these credits, under the section PIT CR, select the option Add a Credit and fill out the panel that appears. Once you're done, click Add, and the information will populate on line 26. Like PIT 1, line 21, in order to qualify for any business-related tax credits, you must have a certificate issued by that certifying state agency. In this example, no credits are claimed, so we will select No to the question, Do you have refundable business-related income tax credits? Lines 27 through 29 are your New Mexico income tax withholdings. Line 27 is income tax withheld from W-2s, W-2Gs, or 1099s. Line 28 is income tax withheld from oil and gas proceeds, and you must attach Form RPD 41285. Line 29 is income tax withheld from or paid by a pass-through entity, and you must attach Form RPD 41359. In this example, the taxpayer has withholdings from a W-2, so we'll select Add/Edit Withholdings on line 27 and fill out the required information. We will select Add once completed. If you have multiple W-2s or income documents, select Add a W-2 for each additional form. Continuing, line 30 is Estimated Payment. Here, you will enter any estimated tax payments. Quarterly payments are made directly to the department to prepay your annual tax liability. You can also enter any overpayments from your 2022 return that were carried forward and applied to your 2023 taxes or the appropriate year. This does not apply to our taxpayer, so we will leave this box blank. Line 31 is Other Payments. Enter payments made toward your personal income tax not included on line 30, such as extension payments or return payments. This taxpayer did not make any additional payments, so we'll leave this box blank. Line 32 is Total Payments and Credits. This total is calculated by adding the amount on line 24 Pit RC, the Working Families Tax Credit, and the withholding from the W-2. For this example, the total payments and credits are $1,550. Click Next to continue. This page starts with line 39, which is Overpayment. This amount is calculated by subtracting line 32, Total Payments and Credits, from line 22, your New Mexico net income tax. In this example, the overpayment reported on line 39 is $1,469. Next, line 40 is Refund Voluntary Contributions. You may voluntarily apply part or all of your overpayment to various entities by selecting Add/Edit Pit/D, and then choosing a fund, program, or other option to contribute to, and entering how much you're contributing. Then select OK. You can also apply all or part of your refund to your next year's tax liability using line 41. Line 41 is the amount applied to your 2024 estimated tax. In this example, we will apply $150 toward our 2024 taxes. Line 42 is the amount to be refunded. In this example, the amount to be refunded is $1,319. The next section is how you want to receive your refund. You can either select direct deposit or mail by paper check. If you select direct deposit, specify if the account type is or is not located outside of the U.S., enter your account type, checking or savings, routing number, and bank account number. If you select paper check, the refund will be mailed to the address on file. In this example, we will select direct deposit to a checking account for the fastest and safest delivery. After we enter the required information, we will select Next. Now, we're on the summary page. Here, you review your federal adjusted gross income, your net New Mexico tax, your total payments and credits, and your overpayment. Next, answer yes or no to the question, do you have a driver's license or state-issued ID? If you select yes, you can choose to provide your license or ID to help verify your identity. This is voluntary and not required to process your return. In this example, we will select no. At the bottom of the page, confirm that all statements and information provided on the return are true and correct by clicking the box, and then click Next. To confirm your submission, enter your TAP password and click Submit. TAP will take you to a confirmation page confirming that your return has been submitted. You can print your return or confirmation page by selecting the Print Return or Print Confirmation Page options at the bottom. When ready, click OK and TAP will bring you to the return page. Here, you can select the View Submission link to view your submitted return. Our 2023 return status shows up as submitted. This status will update to processed once the return has been processed. If you need to make changes or updates to the return, select the Withdraw link at the top of the page before your return is processed. You can also delete the return by selecting Delete and start over if necessary. To print a copy of your submitted return, select Print. You have now successfully filed a personal income tax return using the New Mexico Taxpayer Access Point, or TAP. If you have any additional questions about TAP, you can reach out to our call center at 1-866-285-2996. For more tutorials and information, visit our YouTube channel or our website at tax.newmexico.gov. Thank you.